Thank you for listening to the Kelly Mack Show right here on 107.3 Jams. As promised, in the studio with me, Chief of Greenville Police, we have Ken Miller and also Rhonda Rawlings, our news director.
Thank you, Kelly, for having me.
Not a problem, and I appreciate you both being a part of the show today. We understand that SLED has taken over the investigation in the fatal shooting of Officer Jacobs and Deontea Mackey, and we understand our questions are very limited, and we can only ask a few. So my first question to you, Chief Miller, how long does a SLED investigation typically take, and when will the community know when the investigation is complete and what the conclusion is?
SLED's investigations, they manage investigations all over the state. The ballistics testing was done last week. I have not received a report on the ballistics testing of the weapons at the scene.
Okay.
And they're still doing interviews. I do know that. As quickly as they can get the summary together and reported back to us and their findings reported to us and also to the solicitor, we should be able to report out on those findings.
And then you'll have like a news conference, which you did originally when you let us know what was going on.
Yeah, I think we'll look at that in terms of what the appropriate venue is at this point. But I know that there's a lot of interest in the community in terms of what the investigative findings are in this case. So
absolutely,
my guess is we'll do something along that line.
Okay. And speaking of the weapons, I know Rhonda has a question. Rhonda, go ahead.
Many people have been saying that the gun that Deontea Mackey allegedly used has not been recovered.
We've heard a lot of rumors, and some of them get, quite frankly, a little outrageous in terms of believability. But with respect to the weapon, we've heard that wasn't recovered. We've heard that that his cell phone wasn't recovered, and both have been recovered. Both are with SLED. In fact, SLED collected all of the officer weapons on scene, so that if there's any questions about the ballistics match or any of those issues as they do their examination, that they can try to resolve those by test firing the officer weapons as well.
Thank you for clearing that up, because that has been one rumor that we continue to hear over and over again, and we appreciate that clarity.
There's 10 firearms down at Columbia at the lab, and the cell phone. I do know the body camera on Officer Jacobs was broken. We don't know whether it was on or not. What we do know is that we were unable to recover any video from it because of the condition it was in.
So was the body camera damaged during him running or the shooting, or how did it become damaged?
It was laying beside him on the ground. So, so in some way, I don't know if it was through CPR because it was a chest mount camera, one of the older ones we have. They're not exactly the strongest composition. Otherwise, they get too heavy and they bounce around too much. And But what I can tell you is that SLED was unable to get it to function to draw the video, so they've communicated to me. They've sent that to FBI to see if FBI can do anything with it. So, so we are trying to get that.
Okay, well, we appreciate the clarity on that. You know, there's a lot of rumors going around, some alleging that there was a particular witness running on Swamp Rabbit Trail during the shooting that has a different story than what we heard via your news conference. We also heard that Mackey was shot in the back of the head. Can you confirm or deny either of these rumors?
Well, I can't really confirm or deny any witnesses because SLED has made contact with the witnesses that have come forward.
Okay.
I don't know about this particular witness in the case. What I do know is what my officers have stated has occurred and what I learned at the scene. And what I learned at the scene was that essentially the situation was a murder-suicide. It will take SLED's investigation to determine whether or not that theory is in fact accurate. But the evidence at the scene at the time all points to a murder-suicide. None of that's changed.
Okay.
And I have been informed of nothing that would make that change at this point. My commitment to you, my commitment to our community, is that as we learn more that we can share that would not compromise the investigation that SLED is doing, that we would share those things.
Okay. And I know you're not here long today, so for everybody listening, you can actually tune in to Rhonda Rawlings for Pause for the Cause this Sunday, 6 a.m. for a more extensive interview with Chief Ken Miller from the Greenville City Police Department. Rhonda, go ahead with your final question.
We had a town hall forum Tuesday night, and one of the main concerns by a lot of our youth was they feel that there is a tense relationship between law enforcement and young people, particularly young African-American men. What can we do to get that to be better? I know you have so many programs. There's a Cops on the Court program. There's a National Night Out program. but what do you think needs to be done?
It's a complicated topic. I mean, we have youth that are really operating without strong male role models, oftentimes in broken families. They grow up in poverty, and they become potential prey, if you will, for gangs and for other folks who would engage them in illegal behavior or just conflict with authority. There are people who grow up in environments in which they struggle, and they're not trusting of the institutions and the world around them.
Right.
And we understand that. So we do have outreach programs. There's about 50 kids that show up for Cops on the Court down in Pleasant Valley.
I love that program, by the way.
Try and grow that. Officer Jacobs was a big part of that. He was working to implement as a primary instructor our great program, the Gang Resistance Education Training Program, that we're going to do a week-long academy for great training in June. In fact, you can go to our website and you can get some information about how to apply. So we'd encourage kids to do that. I think there's only so much we can do in terms of reaching out.
Right.
I expect my officers, my employees to treat the members of the public, young and old alike, with dignity and respect. But in order to do our jobs in a free society, we need people to cooperate with us.
Absolutely.
And if you're not willing to cooperate, or you're not willing to trust any institution in any way, shape, or form that operates here in America as being genuine, perhaps trust but verify even. But we're really in bad shape. So we need that level of cooperation. We need people to be willing to engage us and talk with us and do some of the things we need to keep order in a community. And we're willing to be a strong partner to help people, neighborhoods, and even our young men and women do well and succeed.
Definitely. It definitely has to be a two-way street. I mean, there was a lot of talk about the us against them mentality. And we
don't really want an us against them, and I've worked hard, when I was in Charlotte, when I was in Greensboro in particular, because there I was chief. And I had the decision-making authority. Here I'm chief, and I have the decision-making authority. So my goal is to connect us with our community because we can't effectively do our jobs without it. Yeah. And in order to do that, we have to have relationships. And relationships require trust, not just one-sided. Right. Two-sided.
Before we wrap up, we keep hearing about gangs in the area. I know it's a problem because I know some younger gang members personally. But a lot of people are saying, no, there's not gangs here in Greenville. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, I can tell you that there are. The number's larger than the documented number that we have, because the documented number by state law requires certain levels of verification. You have to go through some length to be able to validate somebody as a gang member. What is that documented number? Currently in the city, we show about 70. We know that number to be a good bit larger than that. Okay. Countywide, I can't remember what the number is, but a number of the shootings that we had last year and even early this year were inter-gang or intra-gang related, just bouncing back and forth within the city limits and outside of the city limits in the county. Some of these folks were all outside the county, committing some crimes in the city. Some of the folks were, from within the city going out in the county or even in the city. So we have some gangs here, and they're in our sights. They're in our focus, and but there's an enforcement component to it. But there's also the prevention and intervention pieces that we're working to develop. Part of a proposal to the city manager, and I don't know. Hopefully, it'll be included in the budget this year. Is our Gravity program, which is our gang reduction and violence intervention targeting youth program, Gravity, that we're working to lift off the ground. And we need a coordinator who kind of really can help us manage individuals who are at risk or involved in a gang and looking to get out, and manage those interventions that they need with police and with other service providers. So we are doing some work to try and focus on gangs, not just in an enforcement way, because we know that that's just not the answer. Okay, and before we let you go, we were kind of talking off air, but I wanted to go ahead and get this information out. When was the last time an officer was shot and killed in the city of Greenville? It's 1996. One officer, Sorrow, was shot and killed. Similar circumstances, pursuing a subject on foot. They can be dangerous, and we know that, and our officers know that. The other thing I'd like to say is that I would like to thank all of our community. Our hearts and our prayers go out to the family of our officer. Also go out to the family of Mr. Mackey.
Yes.
And I've met some of his family, and I find them to be good people. I know they're hurting too, but our department is hurting. Our officers have lost a friend, a colleague, a hard worker, and so they're trying to work through that. Everybody's trying to work through it. I think our community came together wonderfully. We were so grateful and thankful for everything everybody did in support of the family, in support of the department, and in support of healing.
Yes.
So we still have work to do. It's going to take a while for our officers to come around on this, and I think some members of our community. But we're never going to fix things. We're never going to work together if we don't start, and we don't communicate, and we don't give each other some level of latitude in the things that we do.
We need mutual respect and trust on both ends, and hopefully we can find a way to get that. Again, Chief Ken Miller from the Greenville City Police Department and our news director, Rhonda Rawlings, thank you so much for stopping by the Kelly Mack Show today. Hopefully we were able to shed some light and clear up a few rumors. We definitely look forward to an update, and we'll continue to pray for both the family of Officer Jacobs and Deontea Mackey. Thank you so much for your time today, guys.
You're welcome.